So the first question that I want to talk about a little bit is, does homeschooling work? The short answer to that is yes, it does. If we take a look at a little bit of research and take a look at some achievement test results, the green on this graph tells you that school educated, brick and mortar school educated students will average 50%, which is what we would expect. 50% is the average. Home educated students who are in the orange average 80% or better on standardized testing. Now, this is not just one test. These results have been repeated over and over and over again over decades. And it's quite astounding the academic difference, the academic excellence that is actually achieved in home education. So if you're wondering if it works, rest assured that it not only works as well as a public school, it works significantly better. In a recent study in 2011 by Sandra Martin Chang, here studying students in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, Ms. Chang said, although public school students we assessed were performed at or above levels for their ages, children who received structured homeschooling had superior test results compared to their peers. It's just consistent across the board. So now I want to address one of the most frequently asked questions, the question that I get asked most often. Will my child be able to get into university? If your child is 6, I would encourage you to wait to apply for a couple years. However, if you go through homeschooling with your 6-year-old, you will be quite confident in knowing that universities not only accept students, that they actually seek out home educated students. A letter from Concordia University in 2013 said students who were admitted to Concordia under this new policy performed extraordinarily well. Okay, I'm just going to pause there for a minute. The year that this letter was written, the year before, many of us homeschoolers spoke with the administration at Concordia University and said, just try our kids, just try them out, see how they do, take some of them and see how they do. So they developed a homeschool student admission policy where they admitted students who many of them did, these students did not have an Alberta issued diploma, and they had admitted them based on a portfolio of work. And those students who were in their school averaged 3.64 out of 4, an average of an A-. I went to the awards night at that university that year. There were more home educated students receiving awards from Concordia University that year than there were non-home educated students. They said when people asked the administration if homeschool students did well, they said, just come to our awards night and you will see that they do extraordinarily well. You will need to register to homeschool if you fall within the compulsory age of education. So let's take a look at this chart. So if you live in New Brunswick, you will be required to notify notify of your intent to home educate or register your child if they are between the ages of 5 and 18. If you live in Saskatchewan, you're required to notify if your child is between the ages of 7 and 15. Now, typically, I think those ages are September 1st. But again, you'll want to check your own province's legislation to know for sure exactly if you are required to register your child. So many people who have kindergarten age students will say, well, can I register for homeschooling? You don't need to. There's no benefit, there's no advantage, and there's no reasoning behind notifying. In provinces that provide funding, if your child is 5, you will not receive the funding for your home education program. There are also deadlines for registering as a home educator. Again, check your legislation. Alberta does not have a registration deadline here, but if you are wanting to receive home education resource reimbursement, then there's a September 30th deadline for notifying for that. After that, you would not be eligible for any home education resource reimbursement. And some of the other provinces may be similar as well. Many parents have been told and encouraged to think that because you are not a teacher, you really are not qualified to teach your children. Well, I want to again look at some of the research on that and see what it actually says. If we look over here at this is the mother's education level and the student achievement. So if we look here, we have that average public school student who's scoring in the 50th percentile, which means they're right in the middle of the test results, which is what we would expect for school test results. You always have the middle persons in the middle. So the mean percentile is 50%. If you have a mother who has graduated college, her student on average will score in the 88th percentile, her home educated students. If you have a mother who has some education after their high school, then their average home educated student will score in the 84th. If you're a mom and you graduated high school, your child is likely to score 30 percentile points higher than the average public school student. And if you have less than a high school education, your child is likely to score 33 percentile points higher than the average public school student. So these results have been talked about a lot. Why do students do so well with parents who are educated in at such a vast level of completion? And a lot of the consensus is that parents are motivated to teach their children. Parents desire to see their children succeed. Parents know their children better than anyone else. Put all those things together and you end up with children who succeed and do very well in school. This chart over here looks at teacher certification, very similar results. If you're a teacher, your students aren't going to do are not going to do significantly better than parents who are not teachers. So do not feel like you cannot teach your child just because you don't have a teacher certificate, a diploma, even a high school diploma. You are the best suited person to teach your child or your children. Well, the answer to this question really is the same for both questions. Homeschooling requires a commitment. It requires you to be committed to the education of your child. And you can work out the timing for that. You can work out how you're going to do that. But as long as you're committed to it, you can make it succeed. So if you work or if you are a single parent, you can succeed just like any other home educated parent. There are many support groups for single parents across the country. There are slightly fewer support groups for working parents, and I think that's mostly because working parents just don't have the time to attend, to go to those support groups. But where there is a will, there is a way. And you set out a plan, you desire to do it, you set things up, and you most certainly can work and homeschool, and you most certainly can homeschool if you are a single parent. It's important for you to understand the legal requirements. Every province administers homeschooling differently. Education is a jurisdiction of the provinces, not of the federal government. So each province develops their own laws and on education, thus has their own laws for home education. Homeschool Legal Defense Association offers a free overview of their homeschool forms and of the legislation. So no matter what province or territory you live in Canada, you can go to the website and get a free overview of your province or territory's legislation, regulation, policies, and the homeschool forms that you will be required to fill out. Many governments across Canada will also offer supports for homeschooling. Some of them provide government funding for resource reimbursements. So say, for example, if you're going to purchase curriculum, you're going to purchase books, you're going to purchase supplies to help you with your home education, there is funding in some provinces to help offset that. Some provinces will allow you to attend school part-time. Some will allow you access to their curriculum documents and their resources, their school facilities, their extracurricular activities such as sports teams. And some will actually have specialized support services for home educators. Again, take a look at the website so you can look at what is available in your province specifically. How are you going to do this? That sounds, I'm hoping that sounds wonderful. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter if it sounds wonderful to you. What's most important to me is that you are the parent of your children and that you will make good decisions for your kids. Well, here at homeschooling.today, on the website, there are so many tools to help you to figure this out. If you go to the website, go to resources, there is a learning preference quiz. And in that quiz, there are a number of questions that you will complete. Do I want my child to be involved in choosing what we learn? Do I want to pick a theme? There is a significant number of questions. And when you're done answering all the questions, a recommended method of homeschooling will be suggested for you. What do I mean by that? What does that mean? Well, so that idea that I was talking about, where you study China and all of you are doing that together, that would be a unit study sort of approach where everyone's together doing the same thing. And you look at a unit, you not only would you study the material, you would make Chinese food, you would look at dress, you would look at the art around China. You would do take all of the subjects would be centered around China. So that would be a unit study sort of approach. You may be someone who is interested in a more classical approach to literature, where you know that memorizing is very important for your child, and you want to be able to develop those memorization skills. You want your child to be able to think about big pictures if they're in junior high. You want to be able to have lots of discussion, sort of a Socratic like dialogue with your child and have really good conversations with them. Well, you may be interested in a classical approach to education. Or there's a very gentle Charlotte Mason way where there's lots of copy work and arts and crafts and journaling, and that may be something that's good for your students if they like to write. So there are many, or there's simply delight-directed learning, where you say to your children, what do we want to study? And they say, well, I'm really interested in ancient Vikings. And you go, let's go, let's do it. Let's hop on the internet. Let's look at YouTubes. Let's look at things. Let's start going. And that's more of a delight-based learning approach. So there's lots of ways for you to approach homeschooling. And the thing about it is I want you to think about who you are and who your students are. Because you have to be able to teach it. So even if your child would like to do delight-based learning and you are a classical memorization kind of person, it's not going to work for your family. The method has to work for you. And then you can work with your student around it. So I want you to think about who you are and how you think you would like to approach things. And you don't have to think about it in terms of the titles, but just how would I like to learn? I encourage you to go to the website, take that learning preference quiz, try it out. It's really valuable. So in addition to how you teach, you'll also want to think about what you're teaching. What is going to be important to you? Is it important to you that your child excel in academics? They're at a point in their education now, maybe they're in late junior high, high school, and you want them to be able to get into a post-secondary institution. And academics are very important. And maybe for your young children, it's very important for you to have a very solid academic focus. Well, then you will focus a lot on those academic subjects. Many families are very musical, and so music is an incredibly important component of their educating at home. So you can spend more time focusing on private music lessons, on discovering their passions around music, on private voice lessons. There are a lot of very musical home educators. My family is very sports oriented. So sports was always very important to us. So it was really important to us that we were able to incorporate sports into the things that we were doing. So those are things that you'll want to think about when you're programming. Another thing is your worldview perspective. How do you think about the world? What are the most important things to you in the world? What are those deciding factors that help you make decisions? Maybe it's your faith. Then you can teach from your worldview perspective. Maybe it's your perspective on ethics and morality. So you want to teach from your perspective on ethics and moralities. Those core decisions that are fundamental to you can help form, can help shape the way you're going to teach your students, the things you're going to teach them, and the way you're going to teach them. Character development is a very important part of homeschooling. Having good kids is something we all desire because it's going to benefit them, it's going to benefit us, it's going to benefit our whole society. So developing your child's character is a significant component of educating. So feel free to spend time putting the books away and just becoming a good person. Do service work. Have your kids learn how to serve others and have that be a component of what you do. Educational resources. What do you choose? Once you have picked out what you're going to study, where do you get your material? Again, homeschool.today has a list of places that sell educational resource materials. There's a listing of resources as well that are online for elementary school and high school students. There's listings of virtual field trips, which in today, those are going to be so significant. So a listing of virtual field trips, teaching resources, audio resources. I have to tell you about one resource that is available. If you choose to become a member of the affiliate of Homeschool.today, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, then you will have access to a large digital library where you can listen to multitudes of good audiobooks. When I began homeschooling, I knew very little about literature. I could probably count the number of books, to be honest, that I had read as a child on one or two hands. As a child, I was read aloud to once. I had one read aloud book read to me. And so I was not familiar in any way with books, with good books. I had no idea how to choose a good book and what made a good book compared to what wasn't a good book. So having a digital library, HSLDA, Homeschool.today, has done an extensive amount of work creating a library that is filled with very good books that your children and you can benefit from. So that's the HSLDA members resources. As well, if you would like to become a member of HSLDA, HSLDA also provides legal services to their members. So should you encounter a social worker who comes and is checking up on things and you don't think that things are going right, or if they're, if you think some of your family may not be happy about your decision, Homeschool Legal Defense Association was created to serve people, and they serve people on a membership basis. So you have access to their legal services as a member. In addition, there's fillable notification forms for your province. So if you're not sure how to do that, you can just fill it out. Information on homeschooling exceptional children's. HSLDA has a magazine, a Facebook page, so many resources. How are you going to evaluate your students? What do you do for that? Well, the first thing we need to know is that the purpose of evaluation. What's the point of giving a kid a test? Why am I doing that? Well, the purpose is to serve you, the parent, so that you know where your child is. That's really the point. That's the point of report cards. That's the point of tests. It's so that you can know where your child is. So when you evaluate your child, you're figuring out where they are. And being a homeschool mom, I really do a lot of evaluation every day. I know where my kids are. So it actually, for us, required a very small amount of testing. There was very little testing that we needed to do. The testing is going to demonstrate the progress and identify levels of competence within your students. I would have done testing in math. So when my child did a unit and they were done a unit, they did a test, and I looked at it and went, hey, you're doing pretty good. Or, hey, well, let's work on some of those things. So that's the point, is so that you can help them to continue, grow, and learn. It's not to say you had 50%, so you passed. Let's move on and do something different. It's so that you can work to a level of competence and proficiency in whatever you are doing. Evaluation can also provide government officials information should they challenge where your student is or how they're growing, or if there's a legal challenge as well. So it's important to keep track of those things. Don't just do them and throw them away. Keep them. That's a part of records management. Keep all of that material. It also, when your child gets older, it shows what your child has done to help them to get into post-secondary institutions, so that a university, NAIT, a college, a polytech somewhere, those places will have evidence of the competence of your students, and they will be able to assess whether or not they would be willing to admit your child into their school. So there's a variety, like I said, of assessments and evaluation methods possible. Testing, I talked about unit tests here. You could do provincial achievement tests. Those will be available to you in most provinces, even as a home educated student. The Canadian test of, I think that's spelled wrong. It should be CTBS, I think. Canadian Test of Basic Skills. That tests where your child is on basic skills, and that's a Canadian evaluatory test. You can keep a portfolio of your students' work. It's always good to keep sample writing, writing samples of your students, and not just for post-secondary. Honestly, it was so beneficial to me to be able to compare my child's writing at this time in our life as compared to this time in our life. I had some learners who really had a lot of challenges with writing. And so to be able to see progress, even small bits of progress, was so beneficial for me as a parent. And it was incredibly beneficial for me to be able to encourage my students as well, to say, look how you've grown. Look at where you've come to. So keep those bits for yourself and for your learners and for any officials you need to show, and for post-secondary. You can also journal, do quarterly reports, yeah, quite a list of evaluations. The record keeping serves you, again, by providing confidence in your student learning, serves the government agency by demonstrating the progress of your child, and then provides that evidence in case of a legal challenge. So you will want to keep records of what your student is doing. I'm going to show you just a sample of my records because we're not talking huge amounts of work. This is a yearly planner that I purchased, and I purchased one for each of my children. And all of the records, except for test results and sample writings, are kept in here. So my children would document the things they did every day. I would have my program plan in here. I would write lists of the special things we did. I would have lists of pen pals. I would have everything that I needed in this book. And I have one of these for each of my children for every year that we homeschooled after I started doing this, because I figured this out late. So, but it's a beautiful, wonderful piece of record keeping. Wonderful way to do that. Keep dated samples of your student work, not just samples, but dated samples, so that you know when your child did these things. Again, these are the things that we talked about. Your program plan and your progress reports, keep those. Make sure you keep those. They are very useful for you. And then your daily scheduling. If you do daily scheduling, weekly scheduling, when I say daily scheduling, I don't mean every day you have to write a schedule, but I mean if you've written out what you've done every day, then just keep that. And that was the beauty of these daily planners, is that I would just have my kids write what they did that day, and it was as simple as math, science, reading. I mean, that's all they would write. Being connected, for our family, being connected as home educators was a very important thing. We were connected to other homeschoolers. My kids had a small group of friends that they were close to and that they spent for homeschoolers, significant amounts of time with. And I don't mean every day, I don't mean every week, but I mean the time they spent was significant when they were with them. So they connected with other homeschoolers. For myself, as a home educating parent, it was so important for me to be able to connect with other homeschooling parents, to be able to share ideas, for me to be able to share successes, but most importantly, for me to be able to share my challenges and my really awful days. Because I don't want to paint a picture that you're going to be living in Never Never Land and it's going to be wonderful. You're going to have days that are challenging. You're going to have days that are difficult. One thing that I do want to encourage you, though, is when I have seen children removed from school and then start homeschooling, there is a de-schooling time. There is a time of significant adjustment. And that can be extremely challenging. So connect with a small group. Find a group in your area. Find other parents who homeschool. Connect with, talk to them, share. It really takes one person. You just need to know one other person that you can connect with. I had one or two people who I connected with regularly, and then I had a larger group that we connected with monthly, and then we would connect for field trips and sports and things like that as well. Each province is also going to have a provincial association, so you can connect with your provincial association. And then Homeschool Today and Homeschool Legal Defense Association, we are here to advocate for you, to help you. That is our goal, that is our passion, that is what we do. In closing, so I just want to share with you some of the things that you can expect. I don't think I know of any family who hasn't experienced this, but the benefits of family connectedness, of families growing closer, of siblings growing closer, of families just growing together is great. So that is one of the biggest, most significant socialization benefits that you are going to find having made the choice to homeschool. You're likely to have kids who are more relaxed. Sometimes challenges, behavioral challenges that students have in school, they are reduced or even go away when families start to homeschool. If you had any students who were bullied or found friendships difficult, many of them will really, really be blessed and be thankful for the choice that you've made to homeschool them. You will have really enriched, specialized learning times. They are learning at home is amazing. I have learned so much homeschooling my kids. Like I said, when I had no idea what a good book was, I now know a good book, and I'm one of those people who can list off books and authors, and it's from a love now of literature. It's from a love of what I have learned, and my children have developed that as well, and your children can develop that too. Life skills, oh my goodness, you get a chance to have them vacuum. Use it. Mothers, use it. Have your children vacuum. A cleaning schedule is a must for every homeschooling mom. Life skills are really important. Cooking, doing mechanics with dad, building something. These are really, really important things to learn. Your kids have more time to explore their interests and develop passions. My son did not cook, I can tell you that, but he became an amazing soccer player to the point where he won awards in college. They can just develop those passions. My daughter had to make a choice if she was going to go to college or if she was going to pursue, she was very close to trying out for Olympic level swimming, synchronized swimming. So they can develop those passions. You can share your ideas, your values, and your beliefs with your children, and you can talk about those things. The most interesting conversations are when you talk about these things and you have real discussions about important things that are going on in our world.